Good afternoon. My name is Hiram Jackson, and thank you for joining us for this amazing conference and what I hope to be an amazing interview here. My name is Hiram Jackson. I'm the CEO of Real Times Media. We are the proud owners of the Pittsburgh Courier, the Chicago Defender, the Atlanta Daily World, the Atlanta Tribune, and the Michigan Chronicle. I'm here today speaking with a wonderful guest during this Black Press Week 2021. Business, politics, and public policy. That's our theme here today. And what are the implications for small business and specifically Black owned media? So I'd like to introduce our guest. He's Congressman Dwight Evans. He represents the 3rd Congressional District in Pennsylvania, which includes the Northwest and West Philadelphia parts of North and South and Center City, Philadelphia. He was first elected in a special election in November 2016. But before that, he's got decades of experience in the State House. He's well known as a pragmatic leader who really knows how to put public policy above politics. He has a very successful career, public service career, and he joins us today. Thank you so much, Congressman, for coming. Appreciate you making time to be with us. We have a very few minutes, so I'd like to kind of jump in it, but thanks for coming, Congressman.
Thank you.
So we got the American Rescue Plan, $1.9 trillion. And there's a lot of legal jargon there. There are a lot of sections and articles, but I'd like to just speak with you casually about what it really means for Black people, for small business. You serve on the Small Business Subcommittee, so you are right there on the front line of making this bill happen. Can you share with us some of the highlights of the bill?
First thing, Hiram, I want to thank you for having this opportunity to have this kind of conversation. Because we're at a real crossroad when you think about it. We are facing something that hasn't happened in 100 years, a century, which is a pandemic. And the effect that it's had, particularly upon people of color, particularly upon small businesses, people of color. And it's been very devastating. And the fact of the matter, we needed a different kind of leadership. And I believe President Biden, Vice President Harris have provided the kind of leadership that is necessary. And when I say necessary, the approach that they have taken, which I support, was first, we must crush the virus.
Yes.
And get shots in the arms. I think this is important to understand, particularly the effect that it had upon people of color and the impact that it's had. So we first had to do that, get trusted leaders to be part of it. And the Black press is very important in communicating and having access, and the more open and transparent. So the American Rescue Act, I believe, is the first start in terms of trying to address it. So it's first shots in arms and the vaccine and ensuring that people of color have full access.
Mm-hmm.
I know in the city of Philadelphia, there's a group called the Black Caucus Consortium,
Right.
Which have been, you've heard that, they've been in the lead on it. So I want to talk about them and the importance of them. That's the first step. Secondly, in terms of small businesses, particularly Black-owned businesses, they're like the backbone of this economy. And they have gone through something which is no fault of their own. But the question is how to manage it. And the package part of the American Rescue talks about the element of making eligible grants and loans eligible to the press, the Black press, particularly with the PPP. That's something that's very important.
Yes.
Because first, by crushing the virus and then having money available, capital, which, as you know, and you've been in Pittsburgh, and I know Pittsburgh, is making it accessible to people, making capital, which is always an issue. So that's a major step. And President Biden and Vice President Harris, I believe, have shown that kind of leadership and understands the needs to getting this economy back to where it was, if not better?
Congressman, I was looking at some stats the other day, and there are some economists who are predicting that up to 40% of small Black-owned businesses will not be able to reopen their doors. And to me, that's horrific and frightening. We depend on so many Black small businesses in our neighborhoods to help us, um, you know, feed our children, get a haircut, all of the things that small businesses do. If I'm a small business and I'm looking at this American Rescue Act, I'm looking at $2 trillion. Where should we be telling our people to focus on? Everybody's focused on the $1,400 stimulus check, but there's so much more in that bill that would help small businesses. And so, can you share with us a few examples of, if you're a small business, the things that you should be looking for to help you get back on your feet?
Uh, that's a very good question. And the first thing I would talk about is the PPP program,
Mhm.
which makes individuals eligible for access to capital from
Right,
Small Business Administration, because that, by that way, that certifies and rebuilds the
hmm,
force of their business, which in turn ensuring that they can have workers,
right,
ensuring that they can meet the needs of the customers.
right,
So you figure that the shots in the arm in conjunction with the PPP begins to add some stability back to the environment. And
right,
that's very important in terms of long-term stability. I was very happy that the president and vice president went big and bold. The
right,
chairman of the Federal Reserve said that in terms of this situation, which is shades of the depression, that's how far we could go back, that
wow,
if we was going to rebuild this economy, we had to rebuild the sense of confidence.
right,
And the black press is important to that equation,
right,
with the history of the black press and the role that the black press plays within this country. It's important to have the 200 publications all
right,
around the nation have that stability, have that sense of confidence. That's why I think, as you asked this question, I said to you, it builds confidence.
right,
As the president and the vice president talk about help is on the way,
right,
that
right,
is very important to recognize that the black press has to know that means them too.
right,
Help is on the way, and that the black press will be able to take advantage, so that the black press, like our constituency, have to know that they are in the loop and
right,
that they too are very much a part of what's taking place and not left out of the investments that are necessary. And I was with the president just yesterday, and he was in Pennsylvania, and he was starting out his Pennsylvania and Delaware County. Matter of fact, the city of Chester,
right,
and the city of Chester, which
mhm,
I know the Mayor Thaddeus Kirkland.
right,
He was in the state house with me, so I share with you. That's from building from the bottom up that the president demonstrates.
right,
So this interview here is about sharing with you. I know the members of the Congressional Black
right,
Caucus
right,
under Congresswoman Joyce Beatty is really showing how important it is that we bring these things together today.
right. Well, Congressman Joyce Beatty is a great friend of mine. I love her to death. I love her to death.
She's fa- she's a fantastic leader. Joyce Beatty's a fantastic leader.
Absolutely. I appreciate your comments about the Black press. I think we're going into the 176th year of the Black press. In my intro, I mentioned that we own the Pittsburgh Courier, my company, and the Chicago Defender, two storied newspapers that have been around since 1905. It appears that some people in our country don't give the Black press the respect that it's obviously deserved at this point. But we learned during COVID that trusted voices still matter. When you talk about getting people, fighting the COVID myths, explaining to people how not to be exposed to the virus, looking at vaccinations, getting shots in arms, it shows you just how much trusted voices matter in Black communities today, because we've had such a distrustful relationship with the government and the medical community over the last several decades. So I appreciate your comments about the Black press. What things can we do to make sure that we are on top of the American Rescue Plan as the Black press community and receiving some of the financial benefit and being used as a vehicle to get your messages out?
Well, I couldn't do this interview if I don't make sure I mention the Philadelphia Tribune and
Absolutely.
Bob Bogle,
Yeah.
the Tribune, the Pittsburgh Courier, the Chicago Defender. I know Bob Bogle very well. I kind of grew with the Philadelphia Tribune myself. It really added to my career. So I
Right.
share with you, I understand the significance of the Black press to the DNA to
Yes.
building back better. That's important. The Black press is a major player in this rebuild. So I want to make
Right.
sure I state that very clearly. And when you talk about the Black press in terms of the economy, there's no way in the world you're going to talk about building back better without the participation of the Black press. Vice President Harris, as well as
Right.
President Biden, fully understands how the Black press plays a part of that equation. So when
Right.
you talk about the trust aspect and you talk about readership, that readership audience there, you clearly need to understand that that audience is extremely important when you talk about the shots in arms, you talk about the small businesses. You understand that is extremely valuable to this rebuilding, building back better.
Mm-hmm.
So this conversation just now is a part of the overall conversation
Right.
of the importance of the Black press in this rebuild. As I said, something like this hasn't happened in 100 years. And though
Right.
you're right when you say, we understand, unfortunately within this country, going back, the unfair treatment, but as usual, I'm very proud of Black people in the Black press of enduring it anyway. We're doing it anyway. We're doing it. We know there's nothing wrong. We talk about the systematic racism and the challenges we have, but we still make it because here in this country, which in return looks at the world and what's going on, there's all these implications. Okay? So it's important to understand that this is an opportunity. We got a lot of work together, and I believe with this new president, new vice president, we can build back better.
Absolutely. Well, my producer corrected me. It's the 194th year of the
Okay.
Black press. Now I said 176, and so you're right. This is the Black press has been standing tall, and I'm pleased to see that we have such a kindred spirit with the Congressional Black Caucus. Every Black Congressperson I talk to is a fan of the Black press. They know who that Black publisher is locally, and there's a relationship. My Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, I love her to death.
I
No,
saw
no,
her yesterday.
yeah, I mean,
I saw her and the chairperson. They were together yesterday. I talked to them yesterday.
yeah, she's a sweetheart. I love her, and she's smart and quick, and she represents Detroit well. That's
Yes.
where I am right now. And if you think about it, Congressman, if you think of cities like, if you think of Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Detroit, and Atlanta,
Correct.
I mean, those are the cities that carried the election right there. So I'm curious of what your thoughts about the Biden-Harris administration. I'm assuming that they recognize that Black people stood up. The Black press was very much a part of that, and that people are receiving their stimulus checks and this 1.9 trillion dollars as a result of Black people getting out to vote, and in particular those cities everywhere, but in particular those cities.
Well, you asked a great question because you beat me to the punch. There would not be President Biden or Vice President Harris without those cities.
Right.
Georgia, Atlanta, it wouldn't be the majority in the United States Senate.
Right.
Senator Warlock, and I applaud him for getting elected from Georgia. Think about that. First time ever. Started in Atlanta.
Right.
You can talk about Milwaukee, what Milwaukee means, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, what that means. Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Detroit. The value of the Motor City. All of those combinations, Milwaukee, Detroit, Atlanta, Philadelphia, all those, it's not an accident that individuals trying to steal the election through that process.
Right.
Black people, black press was at the basis of the election of this president and this vice president. First time ever a woman of color on the ticket. And that's important to understand that factor. So all the things you mentioned, and all particularly the black press, was all very much involved in that.
Right.
It was interwoven. That was together.
Right.
So when you talk about policy and politics and economics, that is why you need to be a part of the American Rescue Act.
Right.
Policy, politics, and economics.
Right.
Building that wealth and opportunity. That's why we're going to beat this pandemic. We got to rebuild these communities, and we got to deal with, as Karen Bass, the Congresswoman for California, talks about the George Floyd policing issue. That's one of the issues that we have in the forefront. The late John Lewis talked about voting rights, voting participation. John Lewis Voting Advancement Act is another thing there. So it's very key that those cities you mentioned are very key to the direction of this country. And it's good that we are very active in this.
Right. Well, I want to thank you, Congressman. This has been a joy. I don't usually get an opportunity to be the person doing the interviewing. I'm usually in the back counting the money. But I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and let's keep Philly strong, keep Detroit strong, keep Milwaukee strong, and Atlanta. And I'm very hopeful that as we emerge out of COVID, that our people see the opportunities that are going to be in front of us. We've been out in the midst of death and destruction for the past year or so, but I'm feeling encouraged that things are going to get better. And I'm sorry we couldn't be there in DC with you guys, but we'll be there next year for sure.
I look forward to it. And now that the Sixers have a basketball team, we'll be more than happy with it. But I thank you again, and particularly the chairwoman, Joyce Beatty, and Brenda Lawrence, those two together.
Right.
It's a good combination of Congressional Black Caucus. Right. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
You got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Take care.